ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्दधामि। भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् वसुदेवसुतं देवम् कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। My namaskars to you all who are attending this class. We are in this fifth chapter named the Sannyasa Yoga. The secret of renunciation of action is being discussed here. So in the last class, we discussed these three verses again, the 13th, 14th and 15th. I pointed out how the discussion drifted when from that discussion was going on about the karma yogin who has become siddha in his path, that Jivan Mukta Mahapurush. What are his characteristics, lakshana? What is his nature like? So that discussion was going on. So in the 13th verse, the first part of that verse talks about the person, and in the second half of that 13th verse we see the principle is being discussed. So discussion moved from person to principle, because essentially now that person, whatever is personal about him or her, that yogin, that siddha Mahapurush, has now dissolved, because what makes personal, the attributes, they are the limiting adjuncts. So it is always so. When you define something, it is always shown exclusively different from others. A nature of definition itself is always of the nature of it is like something and unlike other things. So these two things are said in a definition to define a particular thing. To define itself means making it limited. So then this person who is who has close, intimate interaction with infinity. So he is moving towards limitlessness. So his limitations are now dissolving. So personal attributes are dissolving. He is more like a principle. So we see this transition here from personal to impersonal, from person to principle. And now talking about the principle. So these 14th and 15th verses, we talked about it, what do they mean, and lastly concluded with the thought that what now these 14th and 15th verse mean to a devotee. Why essentially so? Because from Karma Yoga, Karma Sannyasa Yoga, Sannyasa Yoga, where does and how does devotee come? So these are the words of God. That is his position. It is not like that I am saying this to sannyasi or karma yogi or believer of this path and not to a devotee. Truth is not differentiated, bifurcated and compartmentalized. They are not like, it is not like that. Truth is one. If Bhagavan Sri Krishna is saying this, then it is true in every sense of the term. It is not subjective advice. It is not opinion. Contextual. It is not contextual. So, because and why it particularly matters to devotee? Because it will matter less to a jnani who always see God or want to worship God, or his conception about God is Nirgun and Nirakar, is of the, his concept of God is of the principle, of the nature of principle. That what God is, that it is principle, principle of consciousness. Sat Chit Ananda. Now, why does it matter to devotee? It will not matter much to a yogi. It will not matter much to a karma yogi as such. It will matter to a devotee. Because in devotion, prarthana is one of the very essential aspect of devotion. Everywhere there is prarthana. And what does prarthana, prarthayate, in that prarthana is itself there is artha. Artha is uddeshya, motive, hetu, with there is an intention, with a motive. We pray to grant something to us. There is this very inherent and deep belief that our beloved God Lord is the bestower of these boons or giver of whatever we need, or to remove obstacles, or to lessen our troubles. At least we pray for pavitrata, shuddha buddhi, or bhakti, or vairagya, or anasakti. We pray for, suppose, many other things. Somebody want that because there is exam tomorrow, there were 12 chapters. I have read only this first 6 chapters. So, oh God, please make sure that tomorrow's exam have maximum question from first 6 chapters. So that is my request to God. That is my prarthana to God, so that I may survive. So from very crudest form to the most exalted one, we see prarthana as a very essential aspect of devotion. We ask in very certain belief that God gives. Now these statements in the verse number 14th and 15th, they are rather very shocking, because Bhagwan very clearly and unmistaken, unambiguous terms have said that he cannot be attributed, ascribed for the kartrutva, karmani or karma phala sayoga. The doership, the deeds or the fruits of those deeds or conjunction thereof, the timing thereof, with the karta, that means with the karta, how and where those fruits are brought unto him or her. So all these three aspects cannot be ascribed, attributed to Bhagwan, Vibhuhu, Prabhuhu. So these two terms are used. Prabhu, this term is used in the 14th verse. Vibhu, this term is used in the 15th verse. Vibhu means omnipresent. Prabhu is the Lord. Both they come from the same dhatu, bhu, that is bhavati or vartate in that sense, exist in that sense, asti in that sense. So Prabhu, this word shows the dominance, and Vibhu shows the omnipresence. So because of their prefixes, their words have slightly different connotation, though they signify the one and the same thing, that is the all-pervading principle of existence, knowledge and bliss, Sat Chit Ananda. Now, how does devotee take this idea that he does not cause your doership, how you will act, how the act itself will come out, no matter your intention, preparation, your ability, no matter what, how exactly it will turn out, and how exactly it will be its fallout. He is not responsible for any other thing, any of these things. So from these verses, we can understand the concept of Shuddha Bhakti. In Bhakti, initially, I have discussed this topic earlier, sort of. So in science, we see these two aspects. That is, one is called as pure science and something is called as applied science. So what is the idea? That is something, that part of aspect of science or that pursuit after the knowledge of truth of nature, this outworld nature. So, pursuit for the sake of knowledge, just for knowledge, no matter this is not the intention or motive, that what will be the utility of it. Just to know how things work. Now that is pure science. And now when something is established, a law is established, a formula is found, and exactly it has been decided with uncontrovertible terms, it has been proved that this is how it is. Now the application of it, so that part is worked out. So that is applied science. So laws of physics will be utilized, exploited by the field of engineering, suppose, in various ways. The laws of geometry will be utilized by the field of engineering. So these are applied sciences. Now, in spiritual life also, so we can say the jnana, the path of jnana, that is sort of pure science or pure theory part of it. And bhakti is rather based on it. Bhakti is not separate, it is not deviating from the knowledge. The path of knowledge, the very core tenet of the knowledge, it is not deviating from it, it is based upon it. Sri Ramakrishna also, in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, has talked about this term, jnanadhishtitha bhakti. The bhakti which is adhishtitha, that is which is based upon, founded upon jnana. The jnana, that is knowledge, which is the substratum, which is the foundation on which this whole castle, whole edifice of bhakti is erected upon. So bhakti is here applied. It's like applied science, so to say, in that parlance, if we speak. Now, for a person to grow spiritually, slowly, he starts his journey from the state of a brute, he becomes civilized. And what we see, this until he becomes God, only one principle runs through, if we see, on only one matrix, that we can call is tyaga or unselfishness. This grows on. That's how people become more civilized, how they become more kinder, understanding, empathetic. The element of altruism or charitability, generosity. How with the barbarians and how we see with the these people. So less and less these gross pleasures is found with the man or with the society or with that culture. They become more and more civilized, evolved in their thinking, in their living, in their carrying out, and in their larger and smaller goals of the man before his life or as a society in general. So, with the idea of devotion, so man is possessed of so many desires. So, how he moves on to spiritual path. So, to facilitate that, bhakti makes certain kinds of way for him. So, we follow a lot of rituals, or whatever we are doing, we are trying to connect it. So, to entertain our senses, so there are stories, there are singing, there is a good smell, good visual, and good good food. Everything is there. Because a person, as he is growing, slowly it will be needed for him or her. Now, because man is bogged with pressing needs, he faces dire circumstances. So he is naturally going to pray. So Prarthana in the it makes a way for him to vent out, to express those anxieties. So does then those prayers, then this question comes, that they are addressed to blank, and they have no meaning, and they does not have any influence on turning out the missile or influencing the result, or what may fare to for him or her. So this question arises. So intricate is the working of the mind, that Sobhavastu pravartate. How fruits are brought out. It is not only karma, your karma is not the only factor which is responsible for it. In 18th chapter, it will be discussed. There are 5 factors, etc. So, in the external world, how your efforts, that is, it is a big ecosystem, it is like a big lake, and you throw a stone. So ripples are created. So suppose there is another person who is also throwing stone, so there will not be a singular pattern. Patterns will cross. Suppose there are 5 people, then patterns will become more complex. You can imagine this sum total of all the souls with their mind and with their karmas. This is a sum total of the universal mind, universal karma, universal will. So, not your karma is not only the factor which is responsible to what fruit may come to you. Sometimes you might have heard these terms as collective karma. Suppose you yourself have not done, but the people you are along with, they have done something bad. So that karma, which when it came, you also had to suffer it, though you actually were individually not participant to it. Got it? So you still had to suffer that. So the complex is the way, because it is beyond the ability of an individual to compute the complex working of it, because you cannot have possibly all the data. So that is one thing. How it will turn out? Now, this has been repeatedly said by the people who have realized it is also the experience of various devotees. Brahmananji Maharaj had said, Sri Ramakrishna has said, that there is certainly something. So Brahmananji Maharaj used to say, yes, there are forms, the God with forms, Rama, Krishna, Shiva, Kali, Durga, they exist. There is no doubt about it. Very much. Sri Ramakrishna had said that. Sri Ramakrishna had said that there is something distinct, certain force which is called as cosmic will or the will of God. It is not just per se. It is not just a phrase which is used for the sake of convenience. It is not so. So prayers are granted, yes. People have vision of God, yes. With the form of God, yes. Definitely. Now, the person, as he slowly become more and more unselfish, become this transition from person to principle happens more and more and more and more. That all his prarthana, all his japa and dhana, but merges. That his ishta, slowly it becomes coincided and integrated with his own being, or the being itself, no more to his or her, or ones or others, within or without. So, the remembrance of the name of God, or the prayer, or the recollectedness, or the japa, or the meditation is only trying to sip that nectar of what we call as Satchidananda. Trying to go nearer to it, trying to approach to it, trying to live your individuality and all its attribute, and therefore this whole gamut of creation, of the samsara, of its oddities, of its challenge, and its allurements, everything. It's always an attempt to submerge your individuality into that infinity. That is devotion. That is bhakti. So to say, that's why those prayers we will find essentially work when people forget about what they are praying for and they only remember the Ishta. Do we see that in the life of the great people? Suppose in the life of Tukaram, we see in that movie. So, something Tukaram was given one job to keep up this growing crops from harm by any animals, etc. So he was given one job. The crops were almost matured, and that's why they had to be protected from the animals, the grazing animals, etc. So they should not wander, and they eat less and destroy it more. So, but Tukaram Maharaj, what did he do? As soon as he found that solitude and that beautiful nature, his mind immediately turned inward. He started doing japa of Vittala. He's in his japa and his meditation, he forgot everything. He forgot that he lost his outer consciousness. And what did some people who used to hate him? Hate him because who will hate Tukaram Maharaj? So some person who was so much jealous of some good respect that Tukaram Maharaj is getting, and that person is not getting. So that person was jealous of Tukaram Maharaj. What did he do? He ordered some person to bring a herd of cattle and to be left it in the crop field. The field of crop, so that they will destroy it, so that the owner will become angry over Tukaram Maharaj and he will drive him away. So a sort of humiliation and sort of this embarrassment for him, kind of thing. So that happened. So when Tukaram, somebody then at the same time reported the owner of the field. So he came rushing with all his men. What happened? Such a loss. And he saw Tukaram Maharaj is completely absorbed into himself. So Tukaram Maharaj was brought to the senses. He saw and he was devastated seeing all these things. And he was so shocked that such thing would happen. That somebody, it was very obvious that somebody has deliberately done that. So he was sad, pain-stricken, and the owner of the field was very angry, very, very angry. And he said that whatever the loss of this field, that from this crop I should have got this much amount of grain. If anything falls short of, it would be recovered from whatever Tukaram Maharaj have from his belongings, maybe by selling his house or something like that. So Tukaram Maharaj has already nothing, one house or one buffalo or whatever. So what he has to lose, but that will also go away. And everybody will blame, society will blame. His wife is always quarreling about him that he is not earning enough. And what is a terrible situation Tukaram Maharaj has fallen in. Now, in that situation also. And his wife always used to blame him, because all the time you are making japa of Vitthala. So you have to suffer this kind of suffer these kinds of ills, such kind of bad situations. So, and what happens with so much of pain, so much of grief, so much of the pain in the heart. So they started now the process of harvesting of the grains, and finally a small mound of grain they could recover from all the whatever the crop which could be salvaged after such destruction. And many people gathered that Tukaram Maharaj will be, he will have to pay very heavy penalty, because no way so such a huge expectation of that crop can be recovered from this small mound of grains. And they started counting, etc. So Tukaram Maharaj is praying. Now what he is praying? Whether he is praying that God may the necessary grain be recovered from the crops, may that this much grain whatever has been recovered, may they amount to this much quantity. Whether he is praying in any this form. This is not the only incidents. Many incidents we see in the life of the great saints like Tukaram Maharaj, or in the life of Tukaram Maharaj itself. What they are praying? Their prayer, their meditation, their japa, their remembrance, their collectedness, their plaintive request, heart-wrenching request. What is the format of that? They are not asking anything. That is the most essential thing to understand. The nature of that prarthana, the nature of that prayer. He is not asking anything. You just have made him inward and submerged in the recollectedness of God. We cannot leave that. Can we leave our anxieties? When we pray to God, when we need something, when we are in trouble, can we leave those and can only remember God? It is very difficult for ordinary people. But that is the ideal, that is the progress, that is called the Shuddha Bhakti. A Haituki Bhakti, which has no Hetu. which has no motive, which has no objective, which has no intention. Shuddha Bhakti. So, this is the ideal of bhakti. This is the ideal of, in the Karma Yoga, this is also the ideal of bhakti. So, there is a progress, there is a curvature of growth. Bhakti allows initially the Sakama Bhakti. Bhakti with desires. That is allowed. But that is not the all of it. Progressively, as the person moves onward on the path towards his spiritual illumination, he does not remember God for the sake of something. How is that possible? He is all the time asserting that his true nature, bereft of these attributes, which is pure existence, knowledge, bliss, there do not exist any of this maya, of this samsara, of its give and take or anything. The arts of life are but an opportunity to make him inward. One thing strikes to me that Pratima, or the form of God, or the beautiful stories of his devotions or bhajans, they have but one goal. Initially to attract you, yes, then so that they should be able to make you inward. So that you will be able to hold on to your mind inward. We have been constantly praying outside. Yeah, okay. But that is but the beginning. Mind should progressively turn inward. Subsequently, it should develop this habit of turning inward, holding on to there. So we worship a form of God, a pratima of God. We try to see God in a form, so that that form will help our attention, our mind inward. That is the purpose of it. So, these are the ideas which I wanted to talk about. These two verses, na kartrutvam na karmani, etc. and na adatte kasyachit papam na chaiva sukrutam vibhuhu. These two verses. Now, there is a note by Swami Swarupananda ji. Swami Swarupananda was one of the foremost disciples of Swami Vivekananda. He was acclaimed for his intellectual, spiritual heights of his character. He was also a great karma yogi. This Mayavati center was started under his leadership. So he was the first editor of the Prabuddha Bharata magazine. He was also tutor. So you can imagine how much Swami Vivekananda is to trust him, that he was appointed as tutor to Sister Nivedita when she first came to India, so that Sister Nivedita can form the true idea of India, Hinduism, Indian people, its culture, etc. So Swami Swarupananda was appointed by Swami Vivekananda ji. So Swami Swarupananda, he worked very hard while establishing this Mayavati center, and he died even younger than Swamiji. So I am referring a Gita with a simple translation by him that I use for this class. So there are at certain places there are notes. So here regarding this 14th and 15th verse, I will read out his note. Please listen carefully. In unmistakable words, Krishna describes the position of Ishvara or the Lord in relation to the universe in these two verses. He is all blissful, all perfect. Even the shadow of a motive or relation in him would be contradictory to his nature. His mere proximity to Prakriti, that is Swabhava, Prakriti or nature, endues the latter with power and potency of causing all that is. Jiva is bound so long as it relates itself to and identifies itself with this nature. When it ceases to do so, it attains freedom. The whole teaching of the Gita and therefore of all the Hindu scriptures on this subject is condensed in the above. So Swami Swarupanandaji also, how highly he placed these two verses. He said, I repeat this last sentence, the whole teaching of the Gita and therefore of all the Hindu scriptures, and whole teaching of the Gita on this subject is condensed in the above. That Jiva, Prakriti and Ishvara on this subject. There has to be no ambiguity in this. So that's why I said these are the loftiest word any prophet has ever seen, ever said, anywhere in any scriptural. Forget about the other religions. In Hinduism also, of such equivalence, you will not find such words. They are so bold. They are the open truth. So, these two great verses. So, we conclude here our discussion on these 14th and 15th verses. And hope you also individually pay attention, deliberate on these verses and see what meaning it brings for you individually. So the next verse, verse 16, Jnanena tu tadajnanam esham nashitam atmanah tesham aditya vajnanam prakashayati tatparam. So this 16th verse. So in Sanskrit language itself, say in a prose or poetry, there is no rule that how you place your words in which order. So the meaning of the sentence or meaning of the statement, whether in prose or poetry, will not change. So it is not so in most other languages. In Sanskrit, so because the order is defined by how the form of the word, these words means, here in Sanskrit they are called as padam. Okay, padads. These padam, that is like phalam. So padads. This word, this word itself is wrong. Padam, pade, padani. So like phalam, phale, phalani. So in plural, if we have to say, so padani, how they are to be arranged will be decided by the forms according to their cases, that is vibhakti, and of course purusha, and their numbers. So in singular number or dual or plural. So mostly these cases are responsible for their order, how they are to be arranged. And sometimes it also happens that more than one number of meaning can be drawn from the same sentences or same construction of or same statements. So the order of the padani, the order of these words, that is called as anvaya. So what follows which? That is called as anvaya. So here in the 16th verse, so jnanena, that is this one padam, jnanena, tu. Tadajnanam, now this is so to say one word here, but it is, there is sandhi, so tad ajnanam, so two words will be formed by sandhi vicheda. Tad ajnanam, so now tad is one pad and ajnanam is another pad. So esham nashitam atmanah. So here the order will be esham tu atmanah ajnanam, of whose, this ignorance of the self, atmanah ajnanam, ajnanam, that is ignorance about the self, is destroyed, nashitam, by jnanena, by knowledge. Whose ignorance about the self has been destroyed by knowledge. For such people, tesham adityavat jnanam prakashayati tatparam. So this jnanam, this knowledge, it enlightens, prakashayati, or reveals, enlighten, so light it up. So something is there, there is a darkness, and when you bring in the light, so it lights it up, that area, and you can see that particular thing. So prakashayati, okay. So this knowledge, like, not like any other lamp, here like adityavat, like the sun itself, like the sun, it will be prakashayati tat param, that the highest, that param, supreme Brahman, that highest is then revealed. Like any other sun is revealed in the sun, in the full glory of the sun, the full light of the sun, there is no ambiguity. So there will be no mistaken identity about that truth, the highest, the param, tat param, that principle, that highest principle, tat, it is in neutral gender, tat. So this ignorance about the self, the ignorance about the atmanah ajnanam, the ignorance of the self has to go away. So what is the true nature of the self? That who am I? If this as and how it becomes slowly clearer, when that ignorance passes away, then he sees the highest. Highest, that when he sees that self, that Atman in its full glory, he will see that one, that individual consciousness is also the consciousness which is all pervading in the universe, and everything through and over it, through and through it, permeating everything. So prakashayati tat param, that highest. So this is the 16th verse. So because in the 15th verse he had said that God, that Vibhuhu, which is present everywhere, that God which is present everywhere, that principle which is permeating everything, He does not accept, does not take away anybody's sins, neither does He take away anybody's virtues. Papa and Punya, Papa and Sukruta, good deeds or bad deeds. God does not take away, does not na adate, does not accept. And so this is also very important idea of Karma Yoga. Swami Vivekananda says this idea, make this idea very clear in the very first chapter of Karma Yoga. That don't say that you are doing something for God. God does not require your help. This is the foolish notion. We do not do anything for God. We do not do anything for Bhagwan. He does not need. He does not need me. So, initially that motive might sound very nice. That we all the time use, अरे भगवान का काम है, हाँ ठाकुरेर काज, कोनो ठाकुरेर काज नहीं. This is what Bhagwan is saying. This is what Swami Vivekananda said in Karma Yoga. How bold statements. People are shaken when they hear such ideas. No work is God's work. God doesn't. Did He ask you to do anything? Personally, Sri Ramakrishna said that the command of the God is not something imagination what you feel like. He comes, He speaks and gives you command that you should do this. That is command of God. Every term is Tom, Dick and Harry comes that I have got the command of God and I will come and preach Bible unto you. That is not done. That is not command of God. They are called as adhikari. Swamiji discussed this subject. The people who have got that adhikara to preach something, to talk something, to do something, they have got the mandate, as Sri Ramakrishna used to say, chaprash. He has got that order later. Didn't Swami Vivekananda say to Sri Ramakrishna that when on his last days, Sri Ramakrishna had said that Narendra will teach to the world. So he said, no, I will not do any such kind of stuff. I am not going to engage myself in this, throw myself into it. I have no desire of it. And Sri Ramakrishna had said that how you will not do, your bones will do. And finally Narendra, Swami Vivekananda, then had said, unless you give me in writing, that then only I will do, otherwise I will not do. And on a piece of paper, he wrote that. Naren, bhitore bahire dak deve. Etc. So, this idea that working for God or you work because you think it is good to work. There is no other motive. That is Karma Yoga. Here Bhagavan said, Ajnanena avrutam jnanam, that this is the ajnana. And people are deluded by it, and that's why carried into action. Ajnanena avrutam jnanam tena muhyanti jantava, all being which are born the word is used jantu, which is born, that is jantu. Jantu in Bengali is something many times it means animal. Every being is jantu, which is born, that is jantu. So, jantavaha. So all beings, they are deluded by this ignorance. So the idea of karma yoga, the idea of bhakti yoga, these both, so these two verses, they have very deep implications on our understanding and therefore on the practice of this path in our spiritual life. So whose this ignorance about the self has gone, has been destroyed, and then the highest is revealed before them as things are revealed in the light of the sun. That is the 16th verse. So here we will take the break and continue this discussion of the 17th verse is very beautiful, and then from 18th verse onward there are some concept of samya that comes. Very great verses are followed till the end of this chapter. We will see that slowly. Only one thing I just noticed, that on 23rd of this month, 23rd May, there is Ekadashi. So naturally there will not be class. So if I remember earlier, I will tell again. So just because I remember now, that's why I thought, let me tell you that. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.